Hi everybody, welcome to this video. I never expected in my lifetime, I'm only 20 years old, and I never thought that I would even have to worry about this, but here we are. So as you can tell by the title, I am going to be talking about the recent news and what's going on with all these abortion laws that are coming into play now. Now, I am going to be talking about Alabama, but I'm going to be talking about a couple other things as well. And I'm not just going to be talking about abortion, there's going to be a couple other things I'm going to bring up here. I do have notes I'm going to be looking over just so I say everything that I want to say, because I do have a lot to say. Comments on this video may or may not be disabled because honestly, when it comes to human rights, there is no room for discussion. So the first thing I want to touch on is the bill itself. I want to kind of explain what this Alabama bill specifically entails so we kind of all have an understanding. So basically, the law is almost a complete ban on abortions altogether. They only have one singular exception, and that is medical emergency, medical intervention. So that means if the mother will die without this baby being removed, that is the only reason they will ever remove a baby. They did not make the exception for rape victims or incest. So that means that a victim of incest, rape, or possibly even both is going to be forced to carry that baby or fetus, whatever you want to call it, to term. Now, I have heard stories of girls and women or people with uteruses, whatever you identify as, starting their menstrual cycles as young as even 10 years old. Now, could you imagine being a 10-year-old child and having a family member come into your room, sexually abuse you, and then you being a 10-year-old child being forced to carry a pregnancy in the 5th grade? There is nobody that young who is prepared to be a parent. Nobody. And here's another thing. You cannot say that, oh, there's adoption. Adoption is not a viable solution. I actually have a statistic here that I actually looked it up the other day. Currently in Alabama, there are 6,000 children in foster care. That's just foster care. That's not people, that's not orphanages, that's nothing. That's just children in foster homes. 6,000 children in one state that don't have homes. And this problem is just going to increase. Those numbers are going to skyrocket. Now, this bill doesn't just affect women, okay? This bill affects anybody with uterus. So that means women, transgender men, non-binary AFAB people. So many people are going to be affected by this, and not just them, but it's specifically targeting people without means. So what I mean by that is that this bill, anybody can say, oh, well, you can just go to a different state and get an abortion there or just move out, but not everybody has that privilege, and that's something that a lot of people don't understand. And if you feel that that is an easy solution, you are coming from privilege. Not everybody can afford to travel. Not everyone can afford to leave the town that they live in. And not everyone can afford to just go out like that. People who are in poverty already are going to be forced to carry children that they are not stable enough to take care of. They're not possibly not ready for. Some people can't even take care of themselves currently, and now you're going to put another child in that position of poverty, and it's just adding to that problem as well. Now, I'm sorry if I'm not very eloquent in my words. I am trying my best here, but I'm just bad at speaking. Another thing you could say is, oh, well, you can just use other forms of birth control, because people seem to think that abortion is being used as a form of birth control, and that's just simply not the fact. There is currently no single form of birth control that is 100% effective. There is no birth control that's 100% effective besides vasectomies, hysterectomies, getting your tubes tied, all those types of things. Those are the only solutions for birth control. You can use condoms, you can use the pill, you can use Plan B, whatever it is, but even if, let's say you even combine, let's say you use a condom and birth control, you can still get pregnant. You can take all the precautions necessary and still come up short somewhere. These things happen, and we need to be able to help those people in those situations. This bill is not going to stop abortions. It is going to stop safe abortions. Abortions will still happen because people, if they do not want a child, they cannot handle a child, they are not ready for this child, they will not have this child if it is necessary, and you will not stop them. However, you are really risking a lot. It's just not safe. It's basically just a fuck you to all women everywhere. Now, since this came into light, there are other states that have started or have already been working on similar laws, bills, things of that nature, including Maryland, who actually has a 8-week law. So basically, once there's a heartbeat detected, there's no going back. So that means if your child has a birth defect, if you're not if something tragic happens and you're no longer financially stable, or whatever the case may be, you're screwed. Oh, and actually going back to the Alabama law a little bit, there's actually another technical I forgot to mention that's pretty important. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not 100% sure if this goes for the doctors alone, the carrier alone, or both participants, but it is subject now that if you perform an abortion, you could be sentenced to 99 years in prison. If you are raped and you get rid of the fetus that was planted inside of you against your own will, you will be the one going to prison. How could anybody with a stable sense of mind fathom that is constitutional at all? I also saw one recently. North Carolina is considering a bill that basically states once a sex act has begun, you can no longer withdraw consent. So if you're in the middle of any sort of sexual activity and you no longer feel comfortable, you no longer feel safe, and you want to get out of that situation, you cannot. They're saying that is not rape. They're saying that if you say yes, and then something happens and you no longer wish to participate, it doesn't matter. You are forced to carry out the rest of that sex act for that other person. And I don't care what the circumstance is, that is rape. You cannot force someone to carry out a sex act they are not comfortable with doing. Arkansas also joined the bandwagon, and they're working on a blanket ban, as they're calling it, and it's basically for second trimester terminations. They're calling it unconstitutional. And they're making it possible for a rapist to sue the victim if the victim aborts the child. And they can also, if they do give birth to the child, the rapist can sue for custody of said child. So not only are you forced to have to go through the actual event of being sexually assaulted, now you're forced to face your assaulter in a courtroom and have them tell you that you have to do more things for this person that hurt you. How is that person not the one on the stand going to jail for raping you? And this is one of the things that has been a pet peeve of mine for as long as I can recall, is people saying, we don't need feminism, okay? This is exactly why we need feminism, okay? A board of cis males made the decision for everybody else that has the complete opposite body as them. That's like a panel of all cis women saying that all men need to get vasectomies before and then get them reversed if they want children. That's not fair, is it? You can't tell someone that they have to, like, you can't control someone's body like that. If someone told you you were forced to get a vasectomy because women don't want to have kids, how would that make you feel? Being forced to carry out a procedure like that. Yes, it's reversible, but what if you don't want it? And now the government's telling you have to do it. That's not fair, is it? I don't understand. I really don't understand how anybody can read these things out, come up with these things, and say that it's okay. There is a separation of church and the state for a fucking reason. And there is not one person, I believe, that could give me any reason that is not biblical, religious, personal, or whatever, that is actually socially acceptable and lawful on why this should happen to anybody. This affects you. Whether you realize it or not, I don't care what gender you are, I don't care what's between your legs, I don't care what you identify as, it affects you. If there's a person in your life that has a uterus, it's affecting you right now. Let's just take a step back for a second. All the cis males, I want you to watch this part right here, okay? If you're not cis male, just plug your ears for a little bit, okay? I assume, let's just say, I know not everybody has this, but your mother, okay? Let's say some man comes into your house, rapes your mother, and she's pregnant. And now your mother could go to prison for aborting that child, or you could have a brother or sister or whatever that your mother has to carry now and has to deal with No offense to that child. Trust me, no offense to the child. The child is an innocent child. I know it's not the child's fault, but it could have been avoided. And coming from an ex-fetus myself, I can assure you right now, if my mother would have aborted me, not only would I not have cared, I wouldn't have done any different. The child, the fetus, the embryo that's literally this big, will not feel it. I promise you that. I saw a video recently the other day, and it was outside of a clinic, and they had escorts. They had people in orange vests. They had to escort this person. They had their face completely covered, like they were being shamed going into this place. They have people with picket signs, people with microphones telling them that they are murdering something, that they are a terrible person, that they're going to go to hell, all this stuff. Who are you to tell somebody else how to live their life? Mind your own fucking business. It is not your job, it is not your responsibility to tell anybody how they should run their lives. Because yes, it is their life, not this little embryo's life, because the embryo does not have a life. It has no consciousness, it does not know what's happening, okay? It is a bundle of cells. This person is a real life, breathing human being with feelings and emotions and an established person. But fuck them, right? If y'all are so worried about children, how about instead of worrying about abortions, you go fix the 6,000 children that need homes in your state right now? And until that problem's fixed, y'all need to shut your fucking mouths and don't worry about it. A lot of people don't seem to understand you can be pro-choice and not have an abortion. You can be pro-choice because you might be pro-minding your own goddamn business, okay? What that person does is not going to affect what you do, okay? There's somebody halfway across the world probably getting an abortion right fucking now, and guess what? It ain't affecting your life in any other way. Now, I'm sorry I'm getting so worked up and I'm like ranting at this point, but I just get so like emotional about this because it's just so important and nobody cares. And we need to care. New stuff is popping up about this all the time. But that's all the information I have about it right now. Again, if the comments are able, then let me know what your opinions are. They might be disabled because fuck you guys. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I have to say. See ya.